I'm here to do a treatment at this residence. It's a high-set home. As per my job sheet schedule here, I'm required to do an external spider treatment and a household ant treatment as well. And the ants are not a huge problem, but they're popping up once a fortnight perhaps in the kitchen. They've managed to locate the honey jar, not very convenient. And they've also found a packet of lollies in one of the kids' bedrooms, hidden in the cupboard. Spiders are not a big problem, but the client's really sick and tired of cobwebbing the place every 3 to 4 weeks. And they've also noted that there's a few daddy long-leg spiders inside, which I'll obviously be very, very cautious. My name is Neville Hedge. Before I commence a treatment plan, I'd like to go through a few prerequisites which are very, very important before you start a treatment. G'day. I've just popped back to my vehicle having done my inspection, and I'm going to go through a few prerequisites as I mentioned. I'm going to use my cheat sheet because I don't want to forget any. Number one, of course, you introduce yourself to the client, always by name, a little bit about yourself, about your company. I've confirmed just why the customer has booked the service and she's happy with my explanation. Obviously got to do the outside, so always comment, would you like me to do the inside or outside first, to give them that option. She may want to do a few things inside. I hand the customer a product information sheet. I also request that my vehicle is parked okay, as I plan to be here for approximately 2 hours. This is very important because you don't want to be up in the ceiling somewhere and someone wants to shift the vehicle, so make sure you're parked okay. I confirm that my internal spider treatment will be a spot application only. She has got an odd daddy long-leg spider in there, so I'm not going to do any blanket spraying. Okay, I'd just like to point out a couple of things I went through with my prerequisites with windows. Now, I've noticed there is infestation of spiders around these areas, so I am going to have to treat them. At this high-set one here, I mentioned about marking windows. The opaque glass is not a big problem, which tends not to mark, of course, but if it's clear glass, you think again. And this window is open, so I certainly ask the homeowner to close that window for me, because we do not want any drift inside. I've checked externally for kiddies' toys. There's no little sand pit up here, which I always watch for that. Buckets and spades in there. They're a habitat for redback spiders, but in this situation here it's a high-set loft. Kids play up there. It's a great habitat for redback spiders. There's a couple of black house spiders there as well. And I also noticed a paper wasp nest up there. There's only 5 or 6 wasps in there, but still enough to give a kiddie a little nasty bite, which you don't want, so we'll get rid of that at the same time. This is the underneath of the house. I do intend to bring my power gear in here to do some spot treating for spiders. There's quite a few in here. I can't really hurt anything, but I've asked the owner to remove his car. I certainly don't want to get any spray on the vehicle, so that's fine. He's going to remove it before I start. I'd like to just mention what pesticides I intend to apply at this residence now. I've got to get myself ready for the treatment. Tempered, this is what I will be using for the major part. All external spiders, external ants, and I'll also be using this internally around my skirting boards, wet areas and tiled areas. In the ceiling void and crevices around the perimeter, I've discovered I can use some dust. So I'm going to use Cupex residual powder, which is a great product, flows very, very well. I've got one here which is our cockroach gel. I will not be applying this one as we're not doing a treatment for cockroaches. I'd like to talk about the gear I intend to use to do my treatment. Externally I'll be using power equipment. that's my high volume hose. I won't use that, I'll use the low volume. I intend to have about 50 litres of mixture of temperate. That should do the job okay. For my internal spraying, I will be using my small hand tank. I will mix up about 6 litres, maybe 5 litres will be plenty to do internally. And whatever's left in there I will use externally as well to finish it. My dusting with the Coupex, I always recommend the use of Austate's power blower. It's a great bit of equipment, and that's what I'll be using for the wall voids, wall cavities, and also the external cavities in through chamfer boards. So that you use the correct amount of product and not wash the house down, I certainly advise that you use just a plain 18-inch extension with a 6502 tip. You know that's 65 degrees and 0.02 of a gallon at 40 psi, which only takes you up a certain height up on the wall. Then you come back with another extension, a metre extension, with the same tip, which will take you up 2/3 of the side, the part of the wall that you're trying to treat. And then thirdly, you use the biggest extension one you've got with a tip on it like this, which is a cone jet, a pin stream. Now if you do that, that's a pin stream, that's only an X3, so there's not a lot comes out, but it gets you right up to where you want it. So if you keep that in mind, if it takes a little bit more time, you're not washing the house down, you're treating it for spiders. And as I said, we would get around this place quite comfortably with 50 litres of mixture. But if you hose the place down, you'll need 150. Now, I always go around as far as I can around the house with nothing much higher than you can reach. You get too much overspray, you get too much waste. And this being a chamfer home, I will put an application of chemical on the whole wall, just to the point of runoff. Noting, of course, as I go, if there's little cracks and crevices here with webbing, I'd put the nozzle right in there. So moving along here around this window, this doorway, I would do a treatment around there. Just noting once again these cracks and crevices. I always check inside these. Not necessarily treat in there, be very careful, but there might be some here around the inside of the door. Now just moving along, you'll still notice how high I'm reaching up there. I don't want to go any higher, once again to the point of runoff. Coating the whole chamfer or weatherboards. Keep going. Don't try and go any higher than that sill. Just go as high as the sill, that's it. You'll notice a gas fitting here. There's a cavity there underneath. Obviously I would treat in there. I'd put some liquid in there while I'm at it. And then I'd maybe put some dust in there as well through the machine. So you can see there I've done my first run of my external spider treatment, but I've only gone as high as my arm will reach out. That's obviously to stop any waste, stop unnecessary drift. My next action is to go over the same area again with a 3-foot or a metre extension onto my original 18-inch wand. Now that once again gets me up to 2/3 the size of the house. So I once again do my band spray down to where I've treated. Don't try and get too high. You're better off doing three runs rather than 2. So do exactly the same treatment. Treat as you move. None of this business. Treat as you move, keeping your wand parallel to your surface. You can see how high I'm getting there. Once again, that window needs to be closed, but if I happen to hit it, doesn't matter, it's opaque glass. Now you'll note the last windows I've been talking about, it's opaque glass, which doesn't matter, you can't mark it. But this one here is plain glass and you can. Now I've noted there's not a heavy infestation of spiders around there, so I would not do a broadband spray over all those windows. I'd only come in here with a crack and crevice treatment through there, stop, do the same over there, and I'll get the rest of that with another extension. You can see now I put another extension on because I want to finish the treatment down this side of the wall, and I'm not up to the sopheting yet. So I'll put an X3 cone jet on there, which I will use to get me up to those spots. This particular tip is a pin stream, so it will get me up to the sopheting, and I can still come along and get my spray on the top 3 or 4 chamfers easily. So normally you would get fairly close to the house to do this last lot to stop any breeze, so you do get your height. You don't turn your motor up to try and get more height. That's all you do is create more drift. So if anything, turn your motor down a bit. So this here will get me up to the sopheting, not as a broadband spray. And that gets me easily up to the soffit and the gutters. Easily. But as I mentioned, these areas are very critical in here. These spots here. That's where you get your black house spiders. You just continue through to the end of the house with this wand, doing your soffits in your gutter, and that'll complete this wall. As I said, with 3 runs rather than 2. You use less product and you're getting your product right to the point where you want it. By doing 3 runs down this one wall, it means you're getting your product to where you want it. If you stand back with just a cone jet and hose the wall down, you will use 140 litres, which is a complete waste. This treatment here is much neater, and as I said before, you get your product to where you want it, which does the job. This being a chamfer home, I will put an application of chemical on the whole wall, just to the point of runoff. If there's little cracks and crevices here with webbing, I'd put the nozzle right in there. Treat as you move, none of this business. Treat as you move, keeping your wand parallel to your surface. You don't turn your motor up to try and get more height. That's all you do is create more drift. So if anything, turn your motor down a bit. On the rear deck here, I would be treating underneath the patio furniture. Great spot for redback spiders. But this wall here, I'd be able to accomplish a decent treatment here to the point of runoff just with one extension. There's an 18-inch extension with a spray wand, which would get me up to nearly the top. And then I'd just change my nozzle to a cone jet. Stand close, and that would get me up into the soffits, plus the gutter. There's no need for any extra extensions here. This is what I explained to the homeowner from the outset as a prerequisite, marking these windows. You can see I can easily get at this. I can do a treatment very comfortably with my wand without getting any drift on those windows at all. I'm close enough to see if there's any spider infestation there. If there's not, I wouldn't touch it. Just continue along your wall, back along here. Once again, don't touch anything there. Treat around the perimeter, up here. So there's no chance of getting anything on those windows, and it's not necessary. And the thing to remember, with your crack and crevices, you change your nozzle to a cone jet, a pin stream, and make sure you're treating those areas there. It's a hollow, and you will certainly get your black house spiders in there. But once again, I would need my cone jet to get up into those soffits. A pencil stream up into those soffits, which is slatted, and there will be spiders up in there. And a good chance black ants. This is an external railing on the deck, and you'll note under here there is a cavity under there, so you do need to treat it. Not much point in getting chemical on the top here, but I would certainly be treating along under here, like so, and in particular in these cracks here where your decking is touching your chamfers, so there's gaps in here. Absolutely perfect spot for black house spiders. In respect to the black ants inside, I've had a good look around the outside. I can't see any visible trails getting in from external areas. There's no vegetation actually touching the property. Quite often that could mean, of course, that the ants are coming out to feed on that as well, not necessarily getting in from that vegetation. But however, I feel as though they are confined to some cavities inside. It's not a big infestation, and we will concentrate our treatment for the ants internally only. Okay, I mentioned externally we didn't find the ants coming from outside in, but we need to do some treatment inside. The wet areas will be applying some liquid ant bait. This being a bedroom, actually was in this cupboard where we found these ants in this young fella's cupboard onto his lollies. So obviously they've gotten in here somehow. So we're going to do a tempered treatment to all the skirting boards. Just once again to the point of runoff. It's tiled, as you can see. If it was carpet, we would still put it on the skirtings. A likely entry point for the ants would be under this moulding here, under the door sill. So I would certainly be putting my tempered right into that crack there, right the way along, because that's possibly where they're getting in. We have discovered an infestation of the white-footed house ant in here. Technomyrmex albipes they've been identified as. And we've elected to, there's not a huge infestation, but they're in a crack and crevice up here, coming down a tongue and groove section of the wall down onto a cupboard. So we've elected to use the Ant Master liquid bait. We're going to put a quantity in this capsule for them, and I'll be placing this on top of the cupboard right where they're trailing. Part of the treatment for these ants definitely should include a skirting board treatment with tempered, just to the point of runoff. I'd be treating along here. I'd get in behind the refrigerator, which is quite, you can get at it. Along here, under the kickboard, right in under the stove, which we can get under there quite comfortably, easily actually, and continue along this kickboard here. And this was the cupboard where the ants actually found the honey. So we've elected to use the Ant Master liquid bait. We're going to put a quantity in this capsule. I'll be placing this on top of the cupboard right where they're trailing. A likely entry point for the ants would be under this moulding here, under the door sill. So I would certainly be putting my tempered right into that crack there, right the way along.
Tempered 75. Better results, better customer satisfaction.